Hello, this is Shankar, and I'm here back again with all my friends. There was a great demand for me to put some videos on certain issues. Now, none of the video can be very detailed, but I'm trying to put some issues into the today, which would be interesting to you. One of the most important thing which I've been asked is about Bhrigu Nadi. What is the Bhrigu Nadi principles, or what are the Nadi principles? We call it Bhrigu Nadi principles, but they are Nadi principles, and they have been there for a long time. And the advantage of this principle of Bhrigu Nadi Paddhati or Bhrigu Nadi principle is that you do not need the exact time of month, which is a very important thing which is required in case of Parashari astrology. And this gives you an idea of what the life is going to be and some basic issues which can happen. Now, when I talk about Bhrigu Nadi principle, it is a very complex and a detailed subject where I have been researching myself for 30 years. But I would like to just tell here how does it function. Here in the Bhrigu Nadi principles, the most important planet is Jupiter and the second important planet is Saturn. The other planets signify certain characteristics, certain events and certain aspects of life. So Jupiter is the planet which in its period tells you what are the events which are likely can happen or going to happen, likelihood of the events to happen, and what are the events which can happen. Saturn actually makes them happen. So Jupiter and Saturn together in a play make an event to happen, and that is what the Bhrigu Nadi principle, the basic structure is based on. Then it would depend on what you want to see. If you want to see love, relationship, sex, marriage, it is Venus. If you want to look into profession, again it would be Saturn, its relationship with Mars and Mercury, and issues which could come in a sudden nature would be Rahu. Depletion, regression is dealt by Ketu. So then you have to see the play of planets which are in and around. So in Bhrigu Nadi principle, the basic thing is we take Jupiter and Saturn, which are important. We take into consideration the other planets which also have a particular way of movement, which is their Venus. We take it 1 year in a sign, and with this we also have to take the transit chart. That is, what is the transit chart on that particular day. So a relationship between the birth chart which is there in terms of, which does not have the time, but you have the date of birth, you have the month, you have the year, and you have the place. That gives you one chart, and then you have the transit chart. But the most important thing which I would like to say here, and then I would leave it to you guys to read my book on Bhrigu Nadi Astrology and other books, is that it is the play of Jupiter. Jupiter has in each house has to be stationed for a period of 12 years. Now, if suppose your Jupiter is in Cancer when you are born, so the first 12 years is determined by Jupiter in Cancer and the rotation of Jupiter in each of the house. Like if it is in Cancer, the first year of Jupiter would be determined by Jupiter in Cancer. The second year would be Jupiter placed in Leo. The third year would be Jupiter placed in Virgo. The fourth year would be Jupiter placed in Libra, and so on. That is, from Cancer you have to see 12 years and place Jupiter accordingly, and then see how things happen. Similarly, that is, in the first 12 years what events would happen would depend upon Jupiter in Cancer and how it is related to the other planets. Similarly, Saturn, we take it as it is for 30 years in a particular place. Suppose Saturn was in Scorpio. So Saturn remains in Scorpio for 30 years, but it rotates to every 2.5 years in terms of it various signs, and then from 30 to 60 it is in the next house. So we have to see that is how the natal chart changes. That is, the Jupiter gives its fructification of events has to be seen for a period of 12 years. That is if you were born in Jupiter in Cancer, the first 12 years is governed by Jupiter in Cancer for 12 years. 12 to 24 is governed by Jupiter in Leo. Then 24 to 36 is governed by Jupiter in Virgo. And then you also see the rotation of Saturn. That is, the first 30 years Saturn, let's say what is your birth chart is in Scorpio, so 30 years in Scorpio. But how the events will change will depend on Saturn transiting for 2.5 years in each this thing. And it is a combined play of Jupiter and Saturn. That is, Jupiter when it tells the event is going to happen, and Saturn when by its aspect shows a healthy relationship, we say that the event will fructify. Positive or negative would depend on various other factors. So that is how the Bhrigu Nadi principle functions upon. Here also, it is also very important that in the first 12 years, the way Jupiter in the first 12 years will only be touching the various planets and the signs and the depositor, and then you predict. From 12 to 24 years, you do not see it when you rotate it. It is not only that it touches or energizes the various planets, but we also see certain aspects like the planets in second house, the planets in 12th house, the planet in 7th house. Then in the third, that is 24 to 36, we see the combined aspect of, like, suppose between 24 to 36 you have Mars and Venus opposite mirrors. Then we have to see the combined aspect of Mars and Venus together, what they do and how they influence Jupiter. So it is also the relationship, the pattern by which we see in various aspects, that is between 1 to 12, 12 to 24, 24 to 30, keeps on changing. It is not the same. Similar is, it happens with Saturn. So and then the most important thing is, here you have to see the depositor, where the depositor is. Depositor, when it is in 6th, 8th and 12th, it will create problems. In 11th, it is going to be good. So that has to be seen with respect to the transit chart. And then the particular event which you have to see would depend, like marriage would be Venus, profession would be Saturn, Mars would be various other aspects like litigation and so on and so forth. And then we see a combined aspect where we take into consideration the planets in 2nd, planets in 12th, planets in 5th, planets in 9th and planets in 7th, and then with an holistic kind of approach we predict events which are going to happen. So Jupiter in its rotation tells the events which will happen. So we know that only these events can happen in a positive or a negative way. Then we see how Saturn and the planet which is related to that particular aspect of life, it moves during that 12 to 24 year, 24, and then whether the event will fructify or not. So this is how the Bhrigu Nadi principle is based on. It is a very a good system by which you can predict broadly of what are the issues which would happen in periods of 12 years and whether they will fructify and not fructify. And it has a very complex relationship in terms of Saturn fructifying it. The other planets have to be considered when you're looking at the aspects of it. Then you also take into consideration the transit chart, and then in my own theory, as I have gone over it, I have also taken into consideration nakshatra and so many other things while I have been researching on the issue for the past 30 years. So this is how the Bhrigu Nadi principle is based on. It is very scientific. It is not as simple that as people just see the horoscope, say something and throw it. It's not it's not a very easy system. It is a complex system. It has its rules, but it has to be understood, and then the predictions need to be done. This is my take on my basics on the Bhrigu Nadi principles. I have written a book on Bhrigu Nadi Astrology, which is available with Sagar publication. There are other authors also who have written books on this, which one should read. And this is one field which is excellent, and if supplemented with Parashari and other forms of the system, it can tell about an event in a fairly good way. This is what I want to tell all of you. And if you want to know more about me, you can go to my site. You can also go to my YouTube channel, the same channel here, where you have other this thing, and my books are available with Sagar publication. So thanks and bye for now.